And there is one school in specific that we're going to be looking at. And if you haven't heard, there is a school in Loudoun County.
And where's Loudoun County located?
Virginia.
Virginia.
Good old Virginia. Yep. So the issue that we're dealing with is a sexual assault cover-up. And I think that this should be appalling to most people. I think people should be appalled by this. And what's very interesting about this story, one, it wasn't really covered. The people that broke it, they weren't mainstream media. You know how mainstream media loves to talk about the Me Too movement and sexual assault and rape. They like to talk about that. This was not broken by any of those people. This was broken actually by broken. It was broke by.
I don't know how you want to phrase that, actually.
It was this investigative report was initially from the Daily Wire. So their investigative reporter, and which I believe they actually took on an investigative reporter last year as a part of them expanding, which I think is really great. His name, let me go ahead and look here. I know his name's Luke. I just don't know his last name. So his name is Luke Rosiak. I could be saying that wrong, but Luke Rosiak was the investigative journalist that they got on board, and he broke a pretty significant story. And I'm actually going to read directly from the Daily Wire on this because this is actually they are the first ones that broke this.
Okay.
So any other article that you're going to read about this, it's kind of from them breaking it. So we have some different people that have covered this after the Daily Wire. Newsweek did, Fox News also did, National Review also did. I like National Review, by the way. And I think there have been more Daily Wire articles based on their own expose that they've released. So let's go ahead and jump into this because I think it's really important.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So basically the title of the article is Loudoun County Schools Try to Conceal Sexual Assault Against Daughter in Bathroom. And this is what the father is alleging. Okay, but we're going to read this article and it's going to get crazy. All right. So we're going to stop and we're going to talk about it. All right. Here's a direct quote. On June 22nd, Scott Smith was arrested at a Loudoun County, Virginia school board meeting, a meeting that was ultimately deemed an unlawful assembly after many attendees vocally opposed a policy on transgender students. Right? That's important. Remember that. Mm-hmm. What people did not know is that weeks prior on May 28th, Smith says a boy allegedly wearing a skirt entered a girl's bathroom at a nearby Stonebridge High School, where he sexually assaulted Smith's 9th grade daughter. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, the juvenile records are sealed, but Smith's attorney, Elizabeth Lancaster, told the Daily Wire that a boy was charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy. 1 count of anal sodomy and 1 count of forcible, I don't know how to say this word.
Fellatio.
Thank you, Connor. Forcible fellatio related to an incident that day at school. As a result of a viral video showing his arrest, Smith became the poster child for what the National School Boards Association had suggested could be a form of domestic terrorism. A white blue-collar male who showed up to arraign? What is that word? I don't know how to say that one.
I will find it. Keep reading.
All right. He showed up to obscure public servants on his local school board. If someone would sat down and listened for 30 seconds to what Scott had to say, they would have been mortified and heartbroken. Minutes before Smith's arrest, the Loudoun County Public Schools superintendent lectured the public that concerns about the transgender policy were misplaced because the school system had no record of any assault occurring in the bathroom.
Cool. So the school's not keeping count, basically.
From what I'm understanding from the article, there was, if anyone remembers this, there was this viral video of this guy being like arrested and taken out of this school board meeting with like his pants down. Like it was horrible. And they ended up trying to arrest this guy for like, and be like making a case like, hey, domestic terrorism. And he was upset, and he admits to getting reasonably upset because there had been an assault at that school, and they were saying like, we don't have any record of this. This didn't happen here. And he's like, what? I'm sorry? Like, my daughter was sexually assaulted. I need to find the place in this article that talks about the kind of things that they did to prove that this guy actually did what this 9th grader said. They did do a rape kit, from what I know, and it came out favorable to the prosecution's case.
Okay.
That this guy had sexually assaulted her.
And same guy that was charged with 2 accounts of forcible sodomy. And I did check, fellatio would be oral.
Okay.
So 1 count of anal sodomy and 1 count of forcible fellatio. And then harangue is a lengthy and aggressive speech, just for some definitions on those words that are in this article.
Yeah. But let's continue on with the part that was important about this whole school board meeting regarding transgender bathroom policies. Direct quote from the report. Then a woman wearing a rainbow heart shirt, a left-wing community activist, told Smith she did not believe his daughter, he says. His rage reached a boil, and he had a heated exchange of words with the woman. A police officer, there to keep the peace in the meeting, pulled on his arm. Smith yanked it away. Before he knew it, Smith said, he was hit in the face, handcuffed, and dragged across the floor with his pants pulled down. Images of the incident were splashed on television and newspapers across the world. So, Buda, a county's, I can't even say the last name. I think it's Biber. I can't even say this last name.
I don't have a Daily Wire login, so I can't continue reading, but okay. I will fix that in just a second.
Okay. So Buda, the county's progressive top elected prosecutor who has close ties to the school board's most liberal members, appeared in court to personally prosecute Smith for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. He ran on a platform of ending mass incarceration, but she wanted to put Smith in jail for the misdemeanors. As prosecutor, she would have known about the case involving Smith's daughter. The suspect, juvenile court prosecutors assured Smith, was being held responsible. He was on house arrest, confined to his mother's townhouse. According to Lancaster, a conviction was expected on October 14th, likely in the form of a guilty plea to a lesser sexual assault charge. So from this, all right, so far here's what we got. This sexual assault happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy's name is Ken Smith. Let me make sure I get his name correct.
Scott Smith.
Scott Smith, he hears from the school board that, or he's contacted that his daughter has been attacked. And he realizes that it was deeper than just an attack. It was also a sexual assault. And so he was very upset, like any parent would be. Like if you had a daughter and she was
or a son.
Violated, or a son, and they were violated, you would have an issue with that, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And so obviously he got heated. He admits to being heated, but the school board kind of tries to sort of cover it up. And they're like, actually, at the school board meeting, they're like, that actually, we don't have any record of that happening. And also, according to Smith, they wanted to have the incident in-house. Like, they didn't want to call the police.
Right, so they're trying to handle it, well, like you said, in-house. Any reason why they deemed the board meeting an unlawful assembly?
I have no idea, which doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't be an unlawful assembly because it was a public school board meeting.
Right.
The public is allowed to attend.
We get on the Daily Wire here is that after many attendees vocally opposed a policy on transgender students, I mean, I could see it unlawful. Well, this was June of this year?
Yep, June 22nd.
Okay, so maybe unlawful assembly could have been because of COVID restrictions, but there's no mention of it. So I was curious if you knew anything else about that.
I'm trying to remember some of the things. Like, there's been a lot of stuff going on with Loudoun County. I'm pretty sure Matt Walsh actually went over there pretty recently, and they tried to stop him from talking about it because he wasn't a resident. And then he decided, he's like, you know what? That's fair. I'm going to go ahead and just rent an apartment in Loudoun County, and I'm now a resident of Virginia. So wonderful. So he was able to get in.
That's awesome.
And speak. So... But here's I think what's a little bit appalling about this. There's a couple things I haven't mentioned yet.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing The first thing is that the school board tried to cover this up. Not only did they try to cover this up, but then they tried to actually blame Scott Smith, right? For, it's like, oh, domestic, oh, we're sorry for the scene that he caused, and like for the people that saw him get upset, and you're like, we need resources or help.
So they didn't even record it, and then they tried to push off the attention on the victim's parent.
Yes, that's correct. Like they tried to like push all the blame onto Scott Smith. And then I believe, obviously they had the school board meeting, and he got upset that they wouldn't even admit that this had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing that is also very concerning, is that this same boy sexually assaulted another girl. They transferred him to another school, and then he proceeded to sexually assault another girl in the bathroom.
And then another, because he's got 2 previous victims before this one.
Where is that in there?
He's been charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy. Although I guess that could be.
Well, I was thinking that
one person.
Well, that's what when I read that, I figured that it was referring to Smith's daughter.
Well,
that's the way that I read
saying that
it.
the juvenile records were sealed. Boy was charged with 2 counts.
Related to an incident that day at that school. So it is referring directly to Smith's 9th grade daughter.
Okay, but you're saying he already has a history and was moved schools.
So, well, here's the thing. So this happens, right?
Right.
This is the first one that I'm aware of, okay? And then 4 months after this, he sexually assaults another girl.
No way.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, is that they transferred him to another school, and then he sexually...
And he did it again.
He did it again. And
there's not been a punishment or an outcome from this because it's still ongoing, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, like, I think
Are there even trials at this point?
So Lancaster, this is a quote, Lancaster told the Daily Wire that she accompanied Smith's daughter to meetings with prosecutors, that the suspect made self-incriminating statements in an interview, that prosecutors brought the charges, and that a conviction was expected imminently, likely in the form of a plea deal to a charge of felony aggravated sexual battery. So that is what is expected, is that the boy will be charged with something, and Smith, quote, has not opposed the downgrade, saying about the boy, what if he made one mistake? So that's that on that regard of the fact that this boy went off and he sexually assaulted 2 young girls. But there's a bigger argument happening here. There's a big question that's happening.
Why is it getting covered up?
Why is this getting covered up?
And then not covered by the media.
Right. Like when this first even quote unquote even got covered, it was just Smith being dragged out of this school board meeting regarding transgender policies. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing that I can think why they would cover this up is in this article, this boy has claimed to be like gender fluid.
Right. So he switches.
Right. And according like to the way that Loudoun County school boards worked, like that was allowed for him to do that, to go into a girl's bathroom. And so I don't think that they necessarily want to cover that because of their own policies that have allowed this to happen. And then once it did happen, they tried to cover it up and they tried to blame the victim. They tried to put all the pressure and the media onto Scott Smith. I don't know why I wanted to call him Ken Smith. He just seemed like a Ken Smith to me. But Scott Smith, they wanted to put all their energy onto this Scott Smith guy, and no one even thought about it. And what's really interesting too is that this story broke in June. Well, it didn't break. Excuse me. The board meeting was on June 22nd, and we are now in October. So this story broke this week with all these different details.
Right, and the actual event that took place for Scott's daughter happened in, I think, May, was it? I think I was reading
May
a couple of
28th.
things. May 28th.
Yep,
So
it happened May
end
28th.
of the school year, so the school doesn't want to deal with it. They just want to be done with it, be done with the year, go on their summer break, and
mean, I think it's deeper than that. I think there's a broader conversation that they don't want to start. The broader conversation is, are these transgender policies actually going to keep our children safe? And I would say the answer to that is an astounding no. And I think that's why I don't think they wanted this story to break. And it also seems like Loudoun County in itself, from what I've been reading, has also covered up more and are really bad at
reporting instances like
of
this.
Sexual assault. Yes, but I think that this one is particularly concerning because they had put a transgender policy in place, and now we have a gender fluid boy sexually assaulting girls in the bathrooms.
And that's a topic that the progressives have largely wanted to stay away from. Are those type of issues that conservatives have definitely been ringing bells about and saying that it's dangerous for women and children in the bathrooms in that case. And though there really hasn't been a lot of reports, this is probably the maybe second or third that I've heard of. And now I just don't know at this point if it's because it is actually infrequent or if they're covered up like we're seeing.
Yeah. And I think it's more that I think it's two things. I think that it's being covered up or it's being underreported. One, because of Coverup, or two, because victims won't come forward. I think it's a combination of those two things.
I would say it's definitely a combination there, at least of those two factors. There's probably other factors that would work into why these stories don't break until months or years later or never at all. And it is a very serious issue that I think does need addressing in this country. And it's one where I find myself aligned with other groups like feminists and such that I don't normally agree with. But on this, I would agree. This needs more airtime. It needs to be talked about more. People need to take it more. They need to take it seriously. And schools like this should be facing some sort of repercussions for not reporting it.
Well, one of their school board members did just resign, I think, yesterday. So that's really good.
That's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
No.
But it's showing that whatever Daily Wire did, it was enough to get a conversation started. But of course, I haven't seen as much liberal media. Like take CNN, for example. I try to be fair. I try to look at CNN articles as well and just see what they have. And I tried to look up any article specific to this breaking story. Because it broke for a few reasons. One, because also Scott Smith, I think he's also being charged too. Like they're trying to charge him
from the board meeting or the parent board meeting with the school.
I believe so. This is absolutely mind-boggling.
How dare you not have orderly conduct when your daughter was assaulted?
And they covered it up. And they refuse to acknowledge it. They're like, oh, they didn't communicate. Like if people didn't communicate things, like you wouldn't just outright say like, it didn't happen.
Yeah. I think you had an article pulled up here from the Daily Wire saying that the Loudoun County update that the sheriff confirms Daily Wire reporting. So yes. that is confirmed by the sheriff there.
Yes. So according to the article by the Daily Wire, the Loudoun County Sheriff confirmed elements of the Daily Wire's blockbuster report alleging that Loudoun County Public Schools covered up a sexual assault that happened in the bathroom of a local high school, acknowledging that the department investigated a sexual assault that took place on the day in question. Loudoun County Public Schools have also released a statement in reference to the report, noting that it has cooperated and is continuing to cooperate with law enforcement in reference to the alleged sexual assault. And also the case on May 28th with Scott's daughter is still pending as well. So
they're unable to discuss details according to this.
Yes. The suspect in the first case is alleged to have committed a second sexual assault in early October, which we have also.
So in the last covered. 2 weeks.
Right. So this is all pretty recent. I don't even know how this kid was allowed to even go to school. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me. But what's more mind-boggling is that CNN has not covered this. I looked for an article on this breaking story? Nothing. Like, the Washington Post had something. I couldn't read the article because it had a paywall in front of it, but they didn't break it. They covered the story. Newsweek covered the story. I believe National Review broke the story. CNN, nope. They didn't say anything. There was absolutely nothing. And these are like the Me Too gods and goddesses. And I'm wondering
where they're at.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they wouldn't want to cover this. And I think it's partially because they don't want to bring attention to transgender policies. That is my guess, at least.